Haligtree, more like how hard can it be, tree? I'm sorry, sir. Welcome back, Classy Tarnish, to another journal as I go through Elden Ring trying to defeat every single boss in the game. 56 remain as I enter the Haligtree area. This place, I heard a lot of horror stories. Everybody was saying that this was a really difficult optional endgame area, and usually FromSoft optional endgame areas means... Oh, him. That's not the guy from the beginning, right? That's a new guy. The secret snow path to that place, heading there was pretty depressing. The town before the Haligtree. What? That place sucked so much. I think I shared more about that on the last journal. Those stupid assassins that I couldn't see. I fixed that problem by holding onto a torch that lets me see them, but they're still disgustingly fast in combo. It's basically the enemy that I couldn't kill in the jail, the Ever Jail, that was a boss. And now there's 3 of them here that luckily they don't attack you all at once. Man, these things are just so hard. They're just like jumping away. You try to whoosh and then you... Whoa! They just whoosh faster and then they jump on you and then they freaking stab you in the back. And it's just horrendous, terrible feeling. So I made it through all of that, made it to the Haligtree. And I have to say, I was quite surprised at how comfortable the Haligtree is. And I state that with the asterisk that I'm not done the area. So I have to say, upon entering the area, all I see is I'm on a branch. It really kind of reminded me of this is going to sound weird, but like a Disney Mickey Mouse game. And I say that because it reminded me a lot of like these old like maybe it's Castle of Illusion, or I feel like Disney games just take place in trees a lot, and this felt like a 3D platformer from the old days, just with more depth. There wasn't too much that I was worried about. I could tell the enemies in this area were designed to push you off the tree, and I was like, oh, okay, you're putting all these little like bubble boys and these little ants. I know what you're up to. The bubble boys can attack you from pretty much everywhere and bubble you off the tree, whereas the ants are just creepy. I know the strategy here. I'm not gonna tango and dance with these. Sure, I'll knock some bubbles here and there, some bubble boys. How did I not call them bubble boys before this? It's all about let's explore, but let's not dwell too much on the combat, because the combat here is the trap. Now you might be saying, oh, you're just running through the game. That's not the way it's played. I will say running is a very valid strategic option that should not be used throughout all of the game, but there are certain sections that you should do it. If anything, our boy Joseph Joestar in JoJo's Great Adventure taught us that the art of running away is a very valid strategy when it comes to combat. He did it. It is Joseph, right? Made it through the tree to make it to like kind of a little bit more of like ruins or city built in the tree, and I really like that part. And when I say it's easy, so yeah, the gravity was a problem that was nullified by just not fighting, and then the enemies would pretty much fall to 1 or 2 hits. At this point, I'm between level 111 and level 118, so I don't know if I'm over leveled for this area or what. There are some enemies with the freaking red eyes that will kind of mess you up if you're not careful, but for the most part, everything else dies fairly quick, so it's quite comfortable. And I was enjoying actually exploring this part. And then everything leads to, I was very surprised to find Loretta, the Knight of the Haligtree here, because I was like, didn't I kill this? And everyone's like, this is the real one. I was like, oh, I guess the last one we fought was kind of a phantom. Throwback to the whole Phantom Ganon fight from Ocarina of Time, which is like, is it really Ganon? So this was the real Loretta. I can't really say anything bad about it. If I died, it was a skill issue. I think Loretta is a very fair and fun, balanced fight. There's no bullshittery in her. She's intense. She's probably the best boss fight on a horse, if I think about it. And she's just casting lots of spells. It's all about rolling the spells, dodging her combos, and her tail, like not tails, but her tells. The tells are very nice. You can see what's coming, which is why I say if you die, it's oftentimes your fault. So we tangoed with Loretta a few times, killed her, which opened up the next section, which is the city. I don't know what it's called. I call it the city of Haligtree. And I really like this city. This is how I think you should design a city. And I know this one's kind of specific because it's built around the root of a tree, but I really enjoyed this city more than the capital city, because I still get the beautiful architecture of a city, the massiveness of it, even though it's less massive than the capital city. but it's so much more comfortable and less daunting to explore. I can see that I can jump on roofs here, that I can go down these paths that maybe I shouldn't be going. It just felt like I had freedom while still having enough linearity that I'm not confused. Whereas in the capital city, I'm going up and down elevators, I'm going in circles. I'm like, wasn't I here before? What the heck am I doing? It was just a less enjoyable experience. And maybe it's because I was low leveled, or just, I don't know. Maybe it's just, I'll say it's because I was low leveled. So for the most part, that was also comfortable, killing the guards, exploring, see what's going on. Everything was a good time until I made it to the bottom of that place. And there are these like little screamer bloodborne creatures that are just like, and then they just scream off camera. And you're like, ah! There was some bullshittery with some snipers. I'm okay with like that level of, like, if you're going to give me a nice, comfortable time and then you're going to throw in some bullshit near the gates, I'm cool with that. I think they hit me once and I survived. I was like, nope. I see what's going on here. They're guarding that. I'm not supposed to go through this way. So I found eventually another way to get behind them. Ouch. I could kill the snipers, and I was like, that's genius. I like that. I really like what they did there. And then from there, I kept going through the city. It just keeps getting darker and darker as I go. And I think, or I know, that there is a demigod at the bottom of these routes. And I think, based on what everyone has been hinting and suggesting, it is the famous Lady of Rot, Melania. From what I hear, the hardest boss of the game is waiting for me at the bottom of this tree, which is not someone I want to be fighting yet. I was expecting a demigod called Mikola, who I don't know what that is. And this area is called Mikola's Haligtree, so why wouldn't Mikola be at the bottom of this tree? So anyways, I'm probably just a few steps away from seeing what's at the bottom, but the chat was very ominous as I was getting closer, making their oohs and their ahs, and they're like, so I think a lot of pain is waiting for me on the next stream, which you can catch on Twitch if you're catching this on the day the video has dropped over at twitch.tv/VJofficial. But anyways, other than that, before I went through the Haligtree, I did do a little bit of cleanup stuff. So I was in this place called, and I'm probably going to bastardize this name, the Yellow Annex Tunnel, or the Yellow. We're going to say with yellow. Very disappointed to find Astel Stars of Darkness still alive in here. This is BS. If you're gonna put a very thematic, unique boss in the game, you can't just reuse it in a cave. It makes it so it just takes away from the uniqueness. And this is one of the complaints I will have about Elden Ring. Doubling your boss is fine, tripling your boss is fine, but when you start doubling your uniques, that's where I draw the line. That you just shouldn't do that. You should give it a different name or something. Also, I'm bitter because I couldn't kill it. So maybe it's the bitterness. I killed the first Estelle just fine in Rennie's just fine. I mean, it took me a few tries. This one, though, is way bullshittier. It hits you harder, first of all. And second, it's got a scary grab. It'll just disappear, and then you're like, where did it go? Ah! Damn it! Okay. So that's, oh my god. I fought it a few times. I got very close to killing it. I was like a hit or two, got greedy and died. And I went back, people noticed that my Flask of Wonders physique had not been really changed up since Limgrave. And they're like, oh, you should use these orbs. Turns out I didn't have these specific orbs that they were mentioning because I didn't go to the Limgrave tree, Haligtree, I think it's called, no, Erdtree. And so I went there and I got 2 new balls that let me break enemy stances and boost my charge attack. Now, I had to go test it because I'm like, do I even use charge attacks? And I went and tested these new Wonders Physique files on some bosses I had left in the world. The first was the Black Blade Kindred Gargoyle. He was much more comfortable. Now I was dealing some respectable damage on him. I was fighting him in the stairs, which gave me an advantage. I had the high ground. Haha, Gargoyle. I have the high ground. Anyways, I killed him quite comfortably. It was a really fun fight. And then I went after another boss I had left to rot called the Full-Grown Falling Star Beast in the Volcano Manor area. He was also challenging, but I was much more on par with him at this point. Killed him. Turns out the attacks I thought were charge attacks were not charge attacks, which is why I removed that ball. And then I went back into the path to the Haligtree, which is that snowy area, and there was a putrid avatar there. So 56 bosses are left. Some pretty mean ones coming up. And I just like, if I could knock down half of these just like that, just like, let's get rid of the fluff. Let's start talking about the serious business of who these serious bosses are. I know I've left a good half a dozen bosses out in the world that I just like, I'll come back to this later. But then there's like another 50 or so that are out there that I don't know. I don't know what they've got waiting for me. So join me on stream as I discover what other horrors are in this land, or on the next journal as I continue my journey to complete killing all the bosses in this game. Until next time. Oh, and by the way, check out this journal if you haven't. I will be sharing some other experiences I had at that point in the game. Until next time, keep it classy.